Welcome to Dispatches, the York Regional Police podcast. I'm your host, Eric Chapman. And in this episode, we're talking about recruiting the people that want to be a part of the future of policing. But how do you get into the mind of a Gen Z to get them interested in police work? Katarina Henderson and Constable Kevin Nabria are here with me to talk more. And we'll start with you, Katarina. What's your role at YRP?
So my education and experience is in human resources. And I worked in a much smaller police service before I joined York Regional Police, and I did all areas of HR there. But there was just something about recruiting that I loved. And then I applied for a recruiting position here at York Regional Police. I just celebrated 10 years here, and I've been doing exclusively recruiting here for 10 years. I just love finding the next generation of officers and people to represent the community.
Wow, nice. All right, Kevin, I heard that you have a story here, so we're going to get into this. So how did you get into policing?
So policing was actually not my number one career aspiration. When I was 5 or 6 years old, I saw an amazing movie called Top Gun. And I wanted to actually be a military pilot. So I joined the Air Cadets when I was a teenager, got my glider pilot license when I was 16 before I got my driver's license. So that's the route I wanted to go.
What? You got your glider before your driver?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. That just blew my mind. Continue, yeah.
So that's the route I wanted to go. But as I got towards the end of high school, I realized you needed, certain vision requirements to be a military pilot, which I didn't have.
Okay.
So I kind of went into information technology in university, but realized this is not the career I want. I need something different every day, something challenging. And so I thought it's going to be either full-time Army or policing. And so I went the policing route, did police foundations, finished December 2006, and then I got hired April 2007.
Okay, why recruiting?
So recruiting is actually, again, kind of like policing. It's not a unit I ever saw myself getting into, but as the years went on, I was actually a high school officer for 3 years. And in that role, I could see the impact I had on just sort of planting that seed to stimulate that interest in policing. But recruiting is more of seeing that through and kind of seeing them go from beginning to end of the whole process. And it's been very rewarding.
Yeah, probably a lot of pride in that as you go through.
A lot of pride. And there's actually a recruit now who I ran into in 2020. He was on the street. I was driving by, chatted with him and his friends. And lo and behold, he ends up applying a year and a half later. And he tells me this. I'm like, I was that officer that spoke to you.
You're kidding.
So I interviewed him, not realizing who he was, but he tells this story. Because we asked him, why policing? How did you get into it? And he says that, this officer came by, talked to me and my friends playing basketball. I'm like, wait a minute, that was me.
You're kidding.
Quite amazing.
That is an amazing, you were not lying, Kat. Mm-hmm. That is a fantastic story. Well, you're going to be the chief soon, I hope.
Well, I don't know about that.
Okay, Kat, what is the typical recruiting strategy that is typically used or has been used in the past for York Police?
So what we've done historically, we have partnerships in high schools, colleges, and universities across the province. So we get invited out to job fairs and information sessions at those institutions. We also have a lot of community partners in our area here in York Region. So we often get invited out to events that we can either set up a recruiting booth and be able to network with people. We also have historically hosted monthly information sessions where we talk about the recruitment process, how to make yourself a more competitive candidate, what common mistakes people make in order for them to avoid that. So that's been our typical recruitment strategy from here. But we've had to kind of shift that.
Okay,
recently.
what has the shift been to? What is the new approach, I guess?
So we just launched our People First campaign. So there's a lot that we're doing with that. Right now, in terms of our, let's say, just going back to our school partnerships and talking about that. So we're trying to be more active and involved in our school relationships at the college and university level. We've recently made some connections with some varsity teams at the university level and really just trying to plant that seed for policing in more than just law enforcement related programs, but across all programs. In terms of our community partners. So we're building on that as well, trying to get ourselves more out there at community events and networking with people. We're also building on our resources internally as well. So our unit, we're building relationships with our internal support networks and other areas like community services, our diversity, equity, inclusion bureau, and really having our entire organization recruit for us. We're only, I think, 16 people in our unit. And, we're a large organization and we can't do all that work ourselves. So we're really reaching out to even just internally our members and helping us recruit for the next generation. We have done monthly information sessions, and we host an event every year called the Women's Symposium, which targets females. But this year we've expanded the type and the variety of events that we've been hosting. So we recently did a mentor and mingle event, which was more unstructured, but more like networking, more FaceTime with recruiters in our unit. And so we had almost 100 people come out to that. And it was more of just a networking and mingling event, very informal, but people were able to sit and ask us a lot more questions that they have been able to in the past. We're hosting an event next month to kick off Asian Heritage Month. So that's being advertised to our East, Southeast Asian community. And just trying to think outside the box. Like we're just trying to think of different ways that we can reach people.
Yeah,
really.
Totally. Yeah. You mentioned the change that's needed. Why is the change needed?
Our applications are lower than they have been in the past. There's a lot of changes that have happened in the last few years. With social media, there's been a little bit of a negative perception of policing out there as well. There's a lot of terrible things that are happening to our police family. So there's a lot of reasons that are working against us as recruiters as to why people don't want to do this job anymore.
Are you seeing, the state of the world and everything? Are you, as an officer out there, are you feeling the impact of that and seeing it as well and noticing it in the recruitment strategy and processes?
I haven't seen it personally. It's not as prevalent, but I know even when I was as a high school officer, being out on the road, I'd get a bit of both the negative, but also the positive.
Okay.
Right. So even if I'm in line for coffee, whatever it may be, I might get that, Joe citizen saying, I just want to thank you for your service. I'm like, oh, well, I appreciate that. Right. But again, on the flip side, we are seeing the negative side, the attitude towards policing in general. Right. So there is that sort of divide, so to speak. But again, like Kat was saying, we still need officers to fill those spots, to fill the void. And it's in line with our campaign now of people first, right? Because we need to highlight people of good nature, good moral habits and character can be police officers, right? We're not looking for the stereotypical sort of candidate, just all walks of life. We welcome that.
What would the stereotypical candidate typically be?
So a lot of people have, thought that you have to go to school for police foundations. It's a great program, but that's not the only program out there that's going to help you in this role. A lot of people think that they need to have security experience or some sort of law enforcement related experience to get into this. And again, really good experience, but not the only thing we're looking for, right? Again, going back to our people first, we're looking for good people who want to make a difference. And, you need good communication skills. You can get that anywhere. You need good problem solving skills. You can get that anywhere. Good customer service skills. You can get that in any job, right? So those are the skills that we're looking for. We're going to teach you the rest in this role, right? So we're really just getting people to really realize that whatever it is that you've done, whatever you've gone to school for, whatever job you're doing right now, whatever special interests you have or hobbies that you have, whatever it is that defines you, is good. As long as you're just a good person who wants to make a difference.
I think that's a great message and something that a lot of people need to hear, because a lot of people, I've talked to people, they're like, I want to be a police officer, but I just don't know, or I'm scared. I don't want to be put up against that. So that's really interesting that you guys are approaching it that way. And it's fantastic. Do you change your approach for, say, Generation Z or younger people, or say an 80s baby like me? Do you hone in that directly on your processes for recruitment, or is it more of a general thing, as you mentioned before?
I think it's more of a general thing for candidates looking to apply, because there are standards that have to be met. And that's regardless of age, gender, whatever it may be. So we speak to it in broad terms. Now, those coming in later on in their life, maybe they have coming from a first, second career. It's going to be a change, because now they're coming into shift work, totally different ballgame in terms of how the body's going to react to that. So when we do speak to what to expect as an officer on the road, we do kind of touch on, this is how it might affect your family in terms of the scheduling, holidays. You might be working holidays, right? It's never going to be a straightforward sort of 9 to 5 type of job now when you first get on.
Standards. Did you mention standards right there? What are some of those standards?
So the minimum requirements to apply for policing, you got to have post-secondary education is preferred. High school diploma is a minimum, right? But we find the more competitive candidates do have post-secondary, whether that is a 2-year college diploma program or a bachelor program, or even beyond that.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've seen candidates coming with their masters. I think a few doctorates in there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
dang.
again, but it's a wide array of experience that are coming in.
Physical requirements, those are still there as well, I take it. Yeah.
Yep.
What are some of weose?
So in our process, and I think we'll touch on that later, but we do the shuttle run very close to the beginning of the process. And that's a beep test timed, basically running back and forth, and the beeps increase. So you got to meet the beep.
So it gets worse.
Quicker.
It gets quicker. It gets worse for some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As an out of shape person, I say that. So yes.
Yeah. So you have to reach stage 7 for that to pass.
Okay.
Now with York, we don't stop our candidates at 7 because we want to see how much potential you have to show us. So we let them run for as long as they can. But that's the minimum stage 7.
Okay.
So if they make it later on in the process into our background stage, then they'll do what's called the physical readiness evaluation for police.
The prep test.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's a circuit. It's timed, and the candidate's wearing a 9-pound weighted belt and a 9-pound vest to simulate wearing this, although this is probably closer to 30 pounds, but...
Is it really?
Yeah.
Holy, you are in shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have to do that in 2 minutes and 37 seconds. And then 15 minutes after they complete that, then you do the shuttle run. Yeah.
And that circuit's like it's an obstacle course. There's 4 laps to it.
Okay, tell me more about it.
So there's 4 laps. So laps 1 and 3 are the same, and laps 2 and 4 are the same. And so basically what they do, like with laps 1 and 3, they're running to a tall wall and having to look over it. And then they're going up and down stairs and under a barrier. And then on the 2nd and 4th lap, they're actually going over what is to be like a fence, like a shorter fence. And then coming into a machine that we call it's the push-pull. And so what it's designed to do is simulate you being in a fight or an altercation with somebody. So they're pushing in, pulling out, and then dragging weight back and forth. And then after that part of the assessment, then there's something called an arm restraint, which is to simulate that they're handcuffing somebody. And then after those 4 laps, then you have to drag a dummy who we've named Constable Drag.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
thanks for Instagram followers who submitted their responses to that.
That was an Instagram? Oh,
yeah.
So he actually has a name after so many years. We have a name for him.
That's great.
But he's 170 pounds, and they have to drag him around to start cone and then back to finish the course in that 2 minutes and 37 seconds.
What about technologies? Are there new technologies being introduced to recruitment?
So York Regional Police recently launched new software within the whole organization internally. And one component of that is the recruitment module. So that went live for us mid-January. And what that is a candidate can create a profile online, upload all their mandatory documents to apply for any of the positions within our organization, enter all their information, like with their employment history, their education, et cetera, and then what that allows them to do is to apply for any of our positions with just that one profile, not having to repeat that work, which is nice for the candidate. And it's also nice for us receiving that information. It streamlines the process. It allows us to communicate more effectively with the candidate through the software and tracks that communication for them as well. And then allows us to also keep track of their progress in all the positions that they've applied to. Because some people apply for police constable, but they might also apply for a special constable or auxiliary constable role. So that's a new technology that we launched early January that we're using right now with candidates.
Oh, so you can apply for different roles. Okay, so how does that work? You can just come in as a new recruit and apply to be a special constable?
So someone could apply as a police constable, but also apply to be a special constable or auxiliary.
Oh, okay.
So they can move through the recruitment process for either of those positions.
Okay, fantastic. How many levels of recruitment are there?
the stages of the process or as a new recruit?
Let's do both.
Okay, so we'll talk a little about the recruitment process. So if you apply as a police constable, the first stage in the process is obviously submitting your entire application package. It's not just a cover letter and a resume. It's an entire package of information that we require. From there, the first stage in the recruitment process is a paperwork session called the pre-background questionnaire, as well as the shuttle run, which Constable Nabria mentioned earlier as well. So the pre-background questionnaire is a paperwork, information about themselves. They're filling out information just about their employment history, their school history, and a whole slew of other things, as well as proving to us that they can reach a level 7 on that shuttle run. If they're successful at that stage of the process, they might be invited in for an interview. It's a values-based hiring interview, so it's based on the values of our organization. And it's a blended interview in terms of job-specific questions, behavior and scenario questions, and again, questions about the values. And then the next stage in the process is the psychological assessment. And that's part of the background. So if you're successful at the interview, then you would complete a psychological assessment and that prep test, the fitness testing at that stage as well. And then the background investigation, which includes references, a work and home visit, and various checks.
This seems like a lot. Is it? In the process, it just speaking as someone who's listening and be interested, is there something you could say that'd be like, it seems like a lot, but it really isn't, because it's kind of an ongoing thing, it seems like.
It is an ongoing thing. And it does seem like chaos at times.
It does, yeah. But there is you can find the structure of it in your
the structure and the flow.
Yeah.
And just everyone in recruiting, we all have the same goal in mind in hiring the best candidates. And so we're all working hard to make sure that those who are qualified and those who we see potential in do go through the process smoothly. So it flows very smoothly, as chaotic
it seems like it does. That's what I tried to do. I just wanted to point that out. Yeah. So is there something that you would want to tell a recruit? I guess, is there some advice that you would want to give a recruit that was thinking about it, but maybe a little nervous to take the next step?
Yeah. If this is ultimately your goal, that person's going to have the control to do what they can to succeed. We just provide them the resources and tips and whatnot. So consistent work history is important. Everyone might have 5 or 6 jobs. Some might have 2 jobs. What matters is that it's consistent. They're not in a whole lot of trouble frequently at work. Just because if there's any sort of concerns like that, good education. Again, even though high school is a minimum, we are seeing more competitive candidates have that college diploma or bachelor's degree or higher. Right? We just want to see people sort of improve, make a better version of themselves in general.
Yeah.
And to be prepared for the process. Yeah. So like I said, we host information sessions monthly. We're at so many events out there. Really, don't just apply and then not speak to one of us or come out to one of our events. We offer a lot of information to our candidates. We are, mentoring them when they come into any one of our events. We're providing that guidance to them. So come and take it, please. We want our candidates to be successful. We're giving you the information. We're not trying to trick you. We're not trying to hide any part of that process from you. We have practice prep sessions. So that fitness testing, if that's something that you're not sure you're going to be successful at or want to work on, we host those monthly as well. So really stay connected with us. We think we're pretty personable. We think, and we really do have our candidates' best interest, right? So we really are there for them. So we're out there trying our best to attract them to join our organization, but we're giving you the information that you need. So we're telling you what not to do. We're telling you what you need to do to prepare. So really just do what we're saying, because it is just as simple as that. It really is.
I know I'm laughing, but you're right. It really is, because as you said, all the info is there. Grab it and run with it. Oh, that's really cool. Okay, so what are some resources then maybe people could go to find some more of this information or access the portals that they need to find out?
So our website alone is a really good resource. Okay. So www.yrp.ca. There's a whole bunch of information that you need for the various positions that we recruit for. So it tells you all the documents that you need before you submit your application on that careers portal. we are hoping to build a more interactive website and have more information on there. But there's a lot of information already on there that people can access. Our contact information is on there. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, and our own recruiting pages associated with our organization. So, Constable Nabria is the face behind our Instagram. I'm the face behind our Facebook. So private messages on there if you don't want to send us an email or call our main line, right? So we are accessible in so many different ways. So however you want to contact us, we know that a lot of people spend a lot of time on our phones. We're both guilty of that as well. So if someone sends a message on Facebook, we're going to respond to your message. If someone wants to DM through Instagram, we're going to respond to your question that way. If you want to call my extension, the main line, our email address, there's so many different ways to contact us. Ask your questions. I would rather have a candidate call in and ask me 100 questions about the recruitment process or what they could do to prepare and have them be successful than come in unprepared without having contacting us at all.
To Kat's point, if I'm walking down the street and I see Officer Nabria, I'm going to walk up to him and start talking to him and ask him about these things.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're encouraging all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why Kat was saying earlier how with a lot of these events and outreach opportunities we have, a lot of us do enjoy getting out and talking to people, right? Especially with what's been happening in the past few years.
Yeah.
That needs to come back, right, at the forefront and just engage with the community a lot more. If you have a question about recruiting, perfect. If you have a question about policing, perfect. If you have a question about how my day is going, perfect. Right? We just like engaging with people and answering whatever questions they might have.
Yeah, I was told once that 99% of policing is communication.
Absolutely.
And that's absolutely what you guys are talking about. And that's wonderful. And can I see your face on a bus somewhere too?
Yes, you can. So part of our new campaign, we are advertising on buses. We are advertising in magazines. We're really just trying to get the message out there that we're hiring. And we're hiring some big numbers over the next few years. So yeah, Constable Nabria is on the side of a bus.
So again, that goes back to our People First campaign. And it's not just myself on a bus. There are a few other officers on buses. So another officer, he played football in university. And I don't know if he played after that, but he's featured on a bus. And just to show that we're all people under this uniform and outside of the workplace, right? So when I'm not in uniform on the weekends, I'll be out on my bike cycling 50, 60, 70 kilometers.
Oh, whoa.
Right? Just to kind of unwind and let loose. And, that's my outlet, so to speak. Right? So everyone comes from different walks of life and they are people outside of policing. And that's what we're, again, trying to highlight with that campaign.
Yeah, I think that's a great campaign, and I am being paid for this. But I do think it is because in my background, I spoke a lot about this topic specifically, and to see a York Region doing these things and taking these actions, for me, I'm like, wow, this is awesome and something we all need to be paying attention to. So what you're doing here is really great. So I just want to remind you of that. How does diversity play a role in the recruitment process?
Plays a pretty significant role. We want officers to be a reflection of the community they're serving. So, York Region is very diverse. A lot of languages spoken, a lot of different ethnic groups make up the fabric of York Region, right? So we do sort of specific events that highlight, if a certain group is thinking about policing, we can provide an information session to them, sort of in their setting, wherever they're comfortable with.
You'll go right in the community.
To them.
Oh,
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we've done that quite a few times over, I guess, the past year and a half, now that, everything's sort of lifted in terms of restrictions, and we're bringing that back. And again, it's just putting ourselves out there into the community to say, we're looking for good people, right? And we just need we want those sort of demographics to be reflective. I don't know if that makes sense.
So we have a lot of community partners that we are affiliated with. So if there's an event coming up, they know to contact us and invite us to one of their events. If we have an event that is coming up, then we send out our post or our information to them, inviting them to share that within their community.
So was there something that stuck out to you in the recruitment process that really kind of grabbed you and pulled you in?
So even before I decided to apply to policing, told my parents this is what I wanted to do. My mom actually cried. My dad, because I didn't know her dad was the chief of police in their hometown in the Philippines.
You're kidding.
Zero idea.
You're kidding.
Yeah. So they were a little shocked at the decision, but my dad said, if this is what you want, you put in the work. I'm like, absolutely. So during the process itself, I think just the feedback I received was, be honest, be yourself, be true to yourself, right? You're bringing in Kevin or Bria. We want to see everything about you. Just be open and honest. And that's what we preach to this day is be you, be open and honest. People make mistakes in their life, and whatever that mistake is, we can work through it.
Why York Regional Police?
We have so much to offer people. On top of amazing benefits, we have a great work-life balance here at York Regional Police. Over the last couple of years, one thing that COVID has taught us is that we can have people working remotely, which is a new program that we've had the last couple of years. As a mother of 2 young children, I'm able to balance a full-time career and be a mom at home, which I didn't have before. We also have a very desirable frontline schedule for police officers. And in the last few years as well, they've introduced flex shifts. So it's not just your 6 to 6 or 7 to 7 shift. People can flex their start time and end time to accommodate what they've got going on in their personal life or family life. We have great wellness programs. We've got, in terms of, other police services out there, our technology is top notch. Our equipment is top notch, and our fleet is second to none. That's what separates York, is the area that we work in and the things that we can offer you as an officer here.
Okay, thanks. This has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you for your time, Constable. Kat, for Dispatches, I'm Eric Chapman.